Just because arms is a support spec doesn't mean you can't optimize your damage. If you're playing arms, then your raid needs you. Maybe you just really like playing the spec, or maybe none of your rogues are willing to play combat, those jerks. Maybe you can't get a weapon to drop to save your life, or maybe you're just here as a pit stop playing Fury later, but still like dropping 99s and 100s. Whichever it is, I'm Jambros and I'm here to help you make the right gearing choices to compete on your arms warrior. Before I start these comparisons, here's some of the specifics for the sims done. I chose the top 3 items to compare against each other, and these items are simmed twice. Once for how much an upgrade is for you in full Nax gear, and the second time for how the items stack up when you're in full Ulduar BIS for 3-minute encounters. For arms I made an exception and I simmed as a Draenei, or basically a neutral race that wouldn't alter your DPS in any way. While I've been avoiding Troll for consistency, there was a unique interaction here when I simmed as a human with a sword spec racial that changed a little too much. Typically, an Arms Warrior will use the Poleaxe specialization, but Ulduar has no top tier axes like Nax did. There is a gold polearm, albeit not perfectly itemized. This polearm is basically free of competition for an Arms Warrior. Feral Druids have a better weapon available, and Hunters use them as stat 6, whereas you will not. However, because of this lack of ideal Poleaxe weapons, the best sword in the game is extremely competitive when using sword spec. It's also wanted by a few other specs, and it's so competitive that it is actually technically overall BIS in a couple setups, and that is amplified by the extra expertise gained when playing as human due to their racial. The polearm, not sword, is better in a large majority of near BIS gear sets even as human. When this effect comes into play, I'll point it out as we go down this list. Okay, let's start with the helm slot then. In full Nax gear, the new tier 8 helm is actually the largest initial upgrade. You would imagine the Warhelm of the champion to be higher, but the huge amount of hit on it makes it pretty unmanageable. Still, it's very strong if you can use every piece of that hit. In this sim right here, a 28 DPS upgrade includes breaking the tier 7 2 piece. While a good piece, the tier helm is still overall BIS as one of the pieces for the 2-set bonus, plus in general just easier to get. The Warhelm comes close, but not quite. It's worth noting that there is a 252 male helm, Boundless Gaze, that is better than Memoron's flight goggles, but is still a little bit behind the Warhelm and therefore tier helm. The Frigid Strength of Hodier is the best neck for Arms Warriors in Phase 2 as a hit armor pen piece. All 3 of these though were upgrades from the Malagos neck, but not by much. 17 to 33 DPS isn't what I'd call a big upgrade. Even on full BIS, the Seed of Budding Carnage is only 19 DPS worse than the 252 necks. The unlisted Brooch of the Wailing Knight is practically equal with Seed at only a 2 DPS difference, and only costs emblems, so everybody should be able to upgrade this slot. The shoulders are a really difficult slot and probably won't be one of the first of your upgrades. As you can see, tier 8 and these leather 252 ones are pretty big downgrades until you can acquire a second Ulduar piece for either a set bonus or as a way to drop even more hit. The only single immediate upgrade ends up being BIS as an off piece, the shoulder plates of the Celestial Watch, the drop from Algalon and 10-man. I'd call these hard mode intruder shoulders as an unlikely get for you, so that makes the tier shoulders your most likely stopgap piece here. Using the sword, Boljathar, to drop hit, and being a human for the expertise pushes the tier shoulders within 10 DPS but doesn't quite get you there. Runaway winner here for best cloak. The Drape of the Faceless General drops from 10-man Vezek hard mode and gives double the gain from both of these 252 hit cloaks. Besides being an unlikely candidate to acquire them, you should probably just skip them anyway. They're reasonably far behind even in full BIS. If 3 hard mode cloaks is giving you a little bit of pause, the 4th ranked and unlisted cloak is Drape of the Drake Rider and comes from Razor Scale and 25-man. This is still an upgrade and is lootable with even the worst raid groups. Even as a 226 off piece, upgrading out of Chestguard of the Recluse is pretty easy to do and should be one of your first upgrades if possible. Even if most of the chest pieces in Ulduar are trash, and believe me, they are, the tier piece is easily gotten, and even if you can't get it right away from 25-man, the 10-man one is still a 55 DPS upgrade. Embrace of the Gladiator is an even bigger upgrade, but you're really looking to use the tier piece here for the 2-set. Full BIS, however, has Embrace within 5 DPS of the tier piece. As a human, however, it actually becomes better if you swap the shoulders to tier 8 and get a Voldrathar, to the tune of about 14 DPS. However, good luck getting anybody to give you Embrace and the BIS sword for a whole 14 DPS. Plus there's one better setup later on, so you can just go ahead and cross Embrace off your list of items to get. Just use the tier piece instead. Kind of funny that you can upgrade your bracers 3 different ways and all for 60 DPS, including the very easy to get Kolagharn one. Eventually, the Armbands of Bedlam, a 252 piece from doing Firefighter, comes out on top. Still close though. The Bitter Cold ones from Hodier 10-man hard mode are within 10 DPS. If you look hard enough, you won't see the tier gloves in this list. It's because they suck and you shouldn't use them. They're a DPS downgrade, and there are at least 4 better options. The best are actually gloves of the steady hand, a male 252 piece with hint on it. Doesn't matter, still BIS. The Algalon 10 gloves end up being roughly equal with the Bladebreaker gauntlets, which is a vendor option, so you probably shouldn't really consider the Endless Dark gloves since you only need 28 emblems of conquest to equal their output. They're a solid first emblem buy because it's unlikely you'll see the hard mode gloves anytime soon. The belt is another priority to upgrade. It doesn't seem to take much to get a large amount of DPS from the slot upgrading from stock skin. There's a little bit of something here for everybody. Super BIS, hard mode 25 item, a not terribly hard mode from 10 man, and then a belt from Ignis. The 252 belt of Colossal Rage does end up on top, but the other two are close. They're a good goal, but the Girdle Vampers from Ignis 25 is a great stopgap item until then. Hey look, another slot without another trash tier item listed. Don't use the tier 8 legs. I know these 3 items aren't the easiest to get, but please don't use the tier. The Serenite Mesh Leg Guards male item from Razor Scale 25 is perfectly acceptable if you can't get these 3. Interestingly enough, the plated leggings of Ruination are the largest initial upgrade by about 20 DPS because they end up 54 DPS worse in full BIS, losing out to the leather leg guards of Cunning Deception. Obviously you'll want those the most, but they're also ridiculously in demand. That's a pretty big ticket item. This is a pretty good spot to focus your priority on for a contested item though, since it's not a minor upgrade. You look at the boot slot and wonder where the item upgrades are at all. The Melancholy Sabatons maintain a lot of their value through Ulduar. The Algalon ones do end up being overall best in slot, but it's by less than 30 DPS. Definitely something you'll be shooting for once you're actually able to reach and down Algalon, but it's unlikely you'll be changing out your boots quickly. The rings are probably the trickiest slot for Arms Warriors. There are plenty of upgrade options and lots of varied itemizations. Which ring do you even replace first? My advice on the first replacement is just watching your hit rating. Replace a hit ring with a hit ring and vice versa, unless you're desperate for more hit or something. All of these are significant, if not difficult, upgrades. Common Knowledge has brand signet and sealing rings as BIS here with either the sword or polearm. It's close, but the polearm wins out. However, this is the second edge case of finding out what your actual full BIS is. If you use Band of Lights or Seal of the Betrayed King, you can swap in Voldrathar for Dark Edge, and this is how they sim out. Signet and Betrayed is 2 DPS behind if you're non-human. If you are human, then it is 20 DPS better than Signet and Sealing with Dark Edge. Using the Signet Ring and Band of Lights with Voldrathar is 13 DPS better no matter what. If you are human, that 13 DPS turns into 34. Keep that in mind when I get to the weapons here in a little bit. For how tricky the rings may be, the trinkets are not. Grim Toll and the Greatness deck you already had remain good trinkets. Don't be tricked into thinking you want Comet's Trail, the 252 Algalon trinket. Mjolnir Runestone is your big ticket trinket and it comes from Thorn 10-man hard mode. That's really it. Replace Grim Toll with Mjolnir, pair it with Greatness. Then, eventually replace Greatness with Dark Matter. That's it. Very straightforward. The range slot is a low value one, but you can upgrade that Envoy all sorts of ways in Ulduar. Twirling Blades is unironically actually a pretty big 58 DPS upgrade. That's the item you'll really be looking for, but the easy to get Giant Spane off Poleaxe is another good option for you as well. Okay, weapons. Get ready to throw that Betrayer of Humanity in the trash, because look at all these huge upgrades. This will be our fourth discussion on picking your weapon. Obviously, first things first, take whatever you can get. Pretty much any 232 weapon or higher is a big DPS upgrade. Even World Carver with its stupid amount of expertise is 90 DPS better than Betrayer. That said, the top 2 are Poleaxe spec and the bottom 2 sword spec. As you can see, Voldrathar is the largest initial upgrade. But as we discussed earlier, Dark Edge is almost free of competition, and as we close in on our BIS, this gap narrows significantly. Most setups have Dark Edge outperform Voldrathar, which has more competition. Take what you can get. If you end up going Fury later and get Pride of the Sword, great. If not, take the free polearm. In true Ultimate BIS for non-humans, Voldrathar outperforms Dark Edge by 13 DPS. This is using the brand Signet and Band of Lights for your rings. If you are human, then this gap jumps to 34 from the extra expertise you get for using swords. That's it. If you have any questions, drop them below in the comments or come by on Twitch, link below in the description to catch me live. If you like the sort of content and want to help support this channel, be sure to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.